A security officer inspects the basement and encounters a technician who claims to be inspecting the electrical wiring. However, the officer questions the technician's presence and requests a work authorization. Instead, the technician unexpectedly assaults the officer with a stabbing. The workday meeting concludes, and employees make their way toward an elevator. Inside the building, an unknown individual presses a button, causing the elevator cables to snap. The elevator starts its descent. Law enforcement arrives at the scene to assist. Lieutenant Mack briefs his team about 13 individuals trapped in an elevator below the 430th floor. The extortionist insists on $3.7 million, threatening to trigger the elevator's emergency brakes. The authorities discern they have a mere 23 minutes remaining to intervene. Access to the interior of the building is solely feasible via access panels. Unfortunately, the elevator hatch has been rigged to detonate the bomb. Officer Jack and Detective Harry step up to investigate, given the closest access panel resides on the 32nd floor. They hasten their pace to reach the location and enter the shaft, discovering the explosive device atop the elevator. Inside the elevator, anxious voices inquire, "What's happening?" Jack and Harry, identifying themselves as LAPD, reassure the occupants, attributing the situation to a malfunction. Unbeknownst to them, the bomber, Howard, attentively eavesdrops on their exchange. To safeguard the passengers, Jack devises a plan to neutralize their significance, eliminating any leverage for Howard. Suspending himself upside down using a cable, he affixes a hook to the elevator. Amidst their conversation, Howard overhears and triggers the brake's explosion. The passengers within the elevator lurch as it descends, instigating panic. Jack's hook, linked to a crane, succumbs to immense pressure, causing a collapse that propels the elevator's sudden drop before halting again. Swiftly, Jack drills open the access panel and extends assistance to the distressed passengers. Methodically, he begins the task of rescuing them, aiding each individual to safety, one by one. Despite her intense fear, the team successfully rescues the particularly terrified woman. Jack gradually comprehends that the bomber remains inside the building. Learning of Howard's whereabouts in the freight elevators, they attempt a stealthy approach. However, Howard preemptively opens fire on Jack and Harry. In the ensuing chaos, Howard corners them in an elevator, holding Harry hostage while taunting Jack. In a desperate bid to escape, Jack makes a tough call and shoots Harry in the leg. Howard, sensing the situation, triggers an explosion. Despite the chaos, Jack and Harry are honored with medals of valor in an official ceremony for their courageous efforts in rescuing the 13 trapped citizens. The public is informed of Howard's alleged demise due to the explosion caused by his own bomb. However, Howard, alive and mocking, watches the ceremony on TV, sarcastically applauding their recognition. The officers revel in their success, acknowledging their fortunate survival, considering Howard's potential to detonate another bomb. Harry heads home to Santa Monica, while Jack stops for coffee and chats with a friend, a bus driver. Later, as Jack's friend prepares to depart, the bus inexplicably explodes. Jack, bewildered, dashes after the bus, grappling with confusion. Nearby, a payphone suddenly rings. Jack answers, and to his shock, Howard is on the other end. Howard reveals he invested 2 years in the failed elevator scheme, emphasizing his extraordinary dedication. He claims responsibility for the bus explosion, citing it as a ploy to capture Jack's attention. Demanding the $3.7 million, Howard remains resolute in his demands. Howard presents a hypothetical scenario to Jack, a bus rigged with a bomb set to detonate if its speed drops below 50 miles per hour. Activated upon reaching that threshold, Jack seeks clarification on the bus's identity. Howard urges Jack to comply with his rules and discloses the bus's location. Howard adds another condition, stipulating that no passengers are permitted to disembark. Otherwise, he will trigger the bomb. The demand for the money remains set for 11 a.m. on the bus, running from Venice to downtown. Annie rushes aboard. Jack races behind the bus at top speed. Meanwhile, inside the bus, the passengers remain remarkably composed, primarily concerned about reaching their destination on time despite the traffic causing slowdowns. In a state of anxiety, Jack pursues the bus, eventually abandoning his car and sprinting after it, desperately attempting to signal for it to stop. Despite his efforts to convey his identity as an LAPD officer, the bus continues without halting. Frustrated, Jack forcefully commandeers a stranger's vehicle, driving recklessly in pursuit of the bus. Unbeknownst to them, the bus surpasses the 50-mile-per-hour mark, triggering the bomb's activation. Amidst the chaos, Jack urgently warns the bus driver about the bomb's presence and instructs him to maintain a speed of over 50 miles per hour. He contacts Harry, revealing the startling revelation that the bomber, Howard, remains alive. Jack successfully boards the bus, aiming to alert the passengers about the imminent danger. However, as he tries to communicate the situation, a man on the bus brandishes a gun, escalating the tension. In a defensive move, Jack draws his gun but chooses to holster it, aiming to de-escalate the tense situation. He focuses on managing the unfolding chaos as the armed man seems to be calming a fellow passenger down. Ortiz intervenes, attempting to gain control of the situation. Suddenly, a shot is fired, striking the driver and causing severe injury. With urgency in his voice, Jack reveals the truth about the bomb to the passengers and assumes control of the bus, taking hold of the wheel. As the police mobilize, departing in helicopters, Howard eagerly observes the unfolding events on TV. Meanwhile, Jack and Harry converse over the phone. Jack details the complexity of the bomb setup, an extensive amount of C4 with 3 triggers and a timer linked to a gold wristwatch. Howard, engrossed in multiple news channels and American football, revels in the moment. Meanwhile, Harry and his team deliberate on the bomber's expertise, noting his proficiency in creating diverse bomb designs rather than adhering to a singular type. They also acknowledge his extensive knowledge of police countermeasures. Using this insight as a lead, Harry decides to delve into the records of police officers from the past decade, hoping to uncover potential connections or information regarding the bomber's familiarity with law enforcement tactics. Mac and Jack maintain constant communication, collaborating to navigate the crisis. Jack continues to maneuver the bus with urgency, driving recklessly to avert the bomb's detonation. Mac, stationed in a chopper, guides Jack, providing crucial directions to lead them safely toward police units for assistance. A challenging moment arises with a sharp turn ahead, yet Jack, with the passengers' help, skillfully balances the bus, successfully navigating the turn and steering past it without incident. As the police mobilize to rescue the passengers, Jack acknowledges Annie for her invaluable assistance in maneuvering the bus through such trying circumstances. Curious about the bomber's motive, Annie inquires why they are the targets. Jack confides that the bomber's actual pursuit is focused on him, explaining the bomber's fascination with orchestrating games with law enforcement. Jack realizes that even if he manages to save everyone on this day, the bomber's fixation will likely prompt another twisted game in the future. So it continues. Harry tells his friends to check the pension funds. He thinks the bomber might have a disability and might not be from LAPD, but could be close by. He feels like he's seen him somewhere before. Mac and the cops arrive, attempting to safely remove the passengers. Jack warns them they can't do that because the bomber will notice and set off the bomb. Mac suggests that the bomber could be a cop. Howard contacts Jack, initiating negotiations. Jack manages to persuade Howard to allow the injured driver to leave the bus. Amidst the tension, a woman named Helen grows desperate, attempting to jump off to reach the authorities. However, Howard triggers an explosion, causing significant damage to the front of the bus. The woman tumbles out and appears to slip beneath the bus. The passengers grow uneasy and commence bickering amongst themselves. The atmosphere remains fraught. Jack reassures Annie and comforts her as she grapples with devastation. She's relieved to be alive yet plagued by a sense of culpability. Jack urges her not to blame herself, emphasizing that if Helen had disembarked, Howard would have endangered everyone. Mac notifies Jack of a setback. There's a 50-foot break in the road due to the freeway being incomplete. Jack determines they should maintain a speed above 50 miles per hour since it's an interchange, possibly featuring an incline. He briefs all passengers that when they encounter the gap, they must lower their heads. As they approach the unfinished part of the interchange, they soar over the gap and miraculously touch down on the opposite side. Jubilation fills the air as everyone exchanges congratulations. Jack directs Annie to head towards the exit, guiding them to the Los Angeles International Airport's air cargo terminals. They opt for the airport since helicopters can't pursue them there, ensuring Howard remains unaware. In a tense phone conversation between Howard and Jack, Howard demands his money, adamant that he's rightfully earned it. He informs Jack that he received a medal, yet also received a dismissal notice and an apology for his injured hand. Jack persuades Howard to permit him to disembark the bus solo, intending to address Howard's demands directly with the authorities. Howard reluctantly agrees, cautioning Jack to return swiftly and not betray him. Instructing Annie to maintain a holding pattern around the airport runway, Jack reaches out to Mac, who proposes evacuating the passengers. Jack hesitates, fearing Mac might trigger the bus explosion. Aware of Howard's constant foresight, Jack determines he must disarm the bomb. Inside the bus, confusion mounts as the passengers wonder about the unfolding events. Mac alerts Jack about the inability to maintain their current situation for an extended period. Requesting only a brief window, Harry maintains communication with Jack via phone. Employing a mechanic's scraper, Jack slips beneath the bus, connected by a cable, working alongside Harry's guidance to disarm the bomb. However, they encounter an obstacle, a collapsible circuit, rendering it impossible to bypass. Law enforcement uncovers the bomber's identity. Howard Payne, a former member of Atlanta PD's bomb squad, who retired in 1989 after losing a finger in a minor incident. Determined to pursue him, Harry and his team mobilize. Meanwhile, Jack finds himself trapped beneath the bus, grappling with its erratic movements. Ortiz steps up to assist him. Amidst their efforts, the cable connecting them suddenly snaps. Struggling to hang on, Jack inadvertently pierces the fuel tank in his attempt. Benny, in a panic, fears she ran over him. Desperately clinging on, Jack's precarious situation worsens until Ortiz opens the bus floor and rescues him. Tasking Mac with seeking assistance for the fuel tank problem, Jack directs his efforts. Meanwhile, Harry and his team launch an assault on Howard's residence. Howard, however, outwits them by planting an explosive device inside the house. As soon as it senses their presence, the bomb detonates, tragically claiming Harry's life. Jack receives a call, expecting it to be Harry, but it's Howard on the line. Howard delivers the devastating news of Harry's demise. He speculates that the watch, a retirement token attached to the bomb, may have been Harry's means of access. Once again, Howard issues a chilling ultimatum, threatening that unless he gets his money, everyone will face dire consequences. During their conversation, Howard cryptically refers to Annie as a wildcat and specifies a drop-off point for the money. Jack notices Annie's University of Arizona shirt, making the connection that Wildcat refers to her, indicating Howard's ability to see inside the bus. Realizing that Howard has visual access but lacks audio, Jack instructs everyone to remain composed, staring ahead as if nothing's wrong. They stage a tape to give the impression of a mundane, uneventful atmosphere within the bus. Mac intervenes, causing the press to halt their broadcast and repeatedly play the looped tape of the bus. Momentarily deceived, Howard falls for the ruse. Concurrently, law enforcement successfully evacuates all passengers from the bus without incident. Jack and Annie remain the sole individuals remaining aboard. They devise a plan, securing the gas pedal in place. Eventually, using the bus floor's opening panel as support, they manage to escape. The bus collides with a cargo plane, triggering a massive explosion. Passengers witness the intense devastation from a distance. Amidst the chaos, Jack and Annie emerge unscathed, relieved and content. Mac reaches out to check on their well-being, ensuring they receive necessary medical care. Meanwhile, Howard contacts them anew, demanding money, unaware that the bomb has detonated. Mac devises a plan, informing Howard that they'll deliver the money in 30 minutes. Law enforcement swiftly surrounds Howard's location, securing the area thoroughly. Meanwhile, Jack and Annie ride in an ambulance, but Jack decides to disembark, promising to return. The authorities devise a tactical plan involving a paint bomb alongside the money. Sanitation workers unknowingly discard the bags into a trash can. Howard, observant, detects the authorities strategically positioned, armed and aimed at the money's designated collection point. Attempting to activate the bus bomb, Howard discovers he's been tricked by the looped tape broadcasted on TV. Deceptively posing as a cop, he seizes Annie and absconds. Meanwhile, law enforcement grows perplexed by Howard's absence as the money remains unclaimed. Jack, confident in Howard's punctuality, remains vigilant. Unveiling the truth, it's revealed that Howard successfully acquired the money and is on the run. Jack discerns Howard's escape route, locating the hole under the trash can through which he made his getaway. Jack locates Annie in an underground subway area, surrounded by scattered bombs. Howard arrives, compelling her to fill a bag with the money. Jack intervenes, urging Howard to take the money and spare Annie. Unmoved, Howard callously discusses the nature of explosives and their capacity to detonate. Eventually, he coerces Annie to accompany him. Howard, persisting in his reign of terror, fires his weapon, terrorizing bystanders as they board the subway together. In a tense moment, Jack boards the train just before it departs. Howard, in a brutal act, eliminates the train driver. With callous words, he torments Annie, asserting that the explosion will cause less suffering. Upon discovering the paint bomb amidst the money, Howard becomes visibly agitated. Jack confronts Howard in a fierce one-on-one struggle atop the moving train. The altercation escalates, culminating in Jack smashing Howard's head against a railway signal, causing him to plummet from the train. In a tense turn of events, Mac warns Jack about an unfinished track ahead, leaving them no option but to leap from the speeding train. Annie, handcuffed to a pole, faces a dire situation. Despite attempts to free her, their efforts prove futile. With no other recourse, Jack decides to brace for impact, accelerating the train and facing the imminent danger head-on. Amidst the chaos, they sit together, finding solace in each other's embrace. The train hurtles towards the incomplete section, shattering into multiple segments upon impact with the turn. They landed on the road outside the construction. They felt so happy they made it. They started kissing. People were amazed at how they survived.